Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Magazine Our Power to Ms. Gardner, Mr. McQueen, and our DJ, Brother PJ, the DJ, and I'm certainly honored to be back here. Thank you for the opportunity again to come back on the Our Power to address this issue, to give you a follow-up from our previous interview concerning the Conway Perimeter Ride 3 Road Project, Phase 2. Giving you a follow-up from the meeting we had, as Mr. McQueen said, on Thursday, May the 2nd, 2019. And at that meeting, we learned a whole lot, didn't we? More than we knew as it pertained to the Thursday, March meeting over at the Conway Recreation Center, and had a little more opportunity at that meeting. We were given an opportunity to really have discussion and dialogue with DOT, something you had it one-on-one on Thursday. Can't say you didn't have the opportunity, but this as a collective group, we were able to sit down and to discuss things with them. We had 3 officials from SCDOT and Marla Watson, who's the project manager, who's heading up. She was in charge of the meeting, but her supervisors, Stacy Johnson and Leah Quarterbaum, also from SCDOT, were there at the meeting. And as we learned, and I think we mentioned it here because it was mentioned on Thursday in March at the other meeting, that this Conway Perimeter was a 2016 referendum that was on the ballot. So when citizens went out and voted in 2016, they said to us that 70% of Horry County, not just this area, but the entire county, voted to have a Conway Perimeter. And this is a road that, instead of those that are coming through Conway would not have to come through Conway, they voted to have a way as they're coming from Myrtle Beach or other areas of the county. They can go around the city of Conway, not have to deal with the 501 traffic, all of the stoplights that you see and that we have to endure if you come straight up 501.
Right.
So 70% of the residents of the voting population voted to have a perimeter that would get them around 501. And so the question, one of the questions there at that meeting, shouldn't that question have been germane to the residents of the area that was going to be affected by the perimeter? And so this is another thing when we say elections have consequences. And when we talk about referendums on a ballot, and everything, if a lot of times people are voting, and even the 70% probably didn't even know some of what they were voting for.
Right.
It just said, and when you look at the Cliff Notes, or it calls the revised version of the standard, do you want a road around Conway? They say yes, but never thinking how the road would affect everyone and how you'd be affected. And a lot of times when we see those referendums, that's why it's good. Most time, if you go to the voter registration office and all of that, you can also get explanation on those referendums. And now we see the need also for us, not only in my area that I'm elected in for the Democratic Party, to going forward to hold more voter education on referendums, so we can bring more voter education to what is going on and what are these referendums saying.
Yeah, let people know exactly what a referendum is, to tell you the truth. Okay, that's what it boils down to.
Good idea.
Yeah.
And so with this, on this portion of it, it dealt with the Conway Perimeter. And what happens with this, it said that because it was on there as a referendum, it brought it into light to put the road here. The county council voted for one corridor, one particular one, but as they turned the project over to SCDOT, it's a county fund project. And because it's a county fund project, they do not take into all the things that go in place when you're doing federal highways.
Right.
You take ancestral property, you take into cemeteries, all of the historic cemeteries, you take into accountability. On a federal highway, there are more things, it's more strenuous, there's more red tape in getting a highway done. But when you're talking about a county and state, and it's a county funded highway turned over to the state to complete, they don't go through all of those changes. It's less red tape. And then it was said at the meeting, that was another thing said, that maybe you should reconsider and make this a federal highway project. when you think about land, that these are ancestral properties that you're coming through. And one thing was said, black folks haven't even got their 40 acres and a mule. Yeah. They had to buy them 2 acres they have. So now you're going to come and take the 2 acres. And
you're talking about the Sand Ridge area.
They were talking about the Sand Ridge area, right. And so this is what was said in the meeting. But as you said, it was a well-diverse group there. And we were very surprised and I at the attendance at that meeting, and to even see, and I'm going to say it because I know sometimes on the radio I hear different ones from other ethnic groups. They do listen at Whittemore. Y'all got a good audience. They listen. Y'all so powerful to the other side of the track, be listening to find out what's going on in the community. Because I get them sometimes, they'll say, we heard you on the radio. And I said, okay, thank you. But they we did have some senior elderly Caucasian ladies that was in the room that was very distraught over this highway, who've been in their property right near Hemingway Chapel Highway.
Part of the new development.
Yeah, and then some of them that are over that have been, one lady's been in her home, I think about 30 some years, who will be affected by this highway that's coming through. And somebody, and when even Leah from the DOT said, oh, well, we'll give you fair market value. She said, what is fair market value? When I've been in my home for almost 40 years. And at my age, now I'm going to have to relocate. You telling me I'm going to have to move at my age because a big highway want to come through here that's just going to spill people off onto 701 South to go nowhere? So either you're going to make a right or left to go back. But then the thing is, what you go back and Mr. McQueen, being a great engineer that he is, asked a question, a very important question, about the environmental impact study, which they haven't completed. And he made...
but yet they're going with the implementation.
They're going with and Mr. McQueen said to them, he said, wait a minute, it's no way it could be 20 or 30 years down the road before this can be completed if you did a thorough environmental impact study. But again, they alluded that this is not a federal highway project. This is a county funded project. And let me say, I'm not authorized to speak on SCDOT. I'm not even speaking really as my office as state executive. I'm speaking as a concerned citizen. Is none of us in this room at this table and Mr. Brother PJ getting paid for this. We are concerned because we see that if nothing is done, if we don't bring people back to the table again,
they'll be on the menu.
They're going to be on the menu. And being on the menu, as the lady said, the DOT, she said they would take into account of fair market value. Well, then, if you coming through the community, and I'm going to tell you just what's going on around the area now, when we talk about flooding and areas that are flooded, well, that depreciate the value of your property. And when they take a flood zone, you're not going to get fair market value. And so if you don't...
If you're in a flood zone.
If you're in a flood zone. So, and I can tell you, I know some people in our area that's all for Dirty Branch and all, had to get find new insurance providers because they were given statements a few years back that you're now in a flood zone, so we can't cover you. So this is when we talk about the impact this could have on a community. And now we're talking about whether it spills off or come up Dirty Branch Road in Conway, Hemingway Chapel Road, or Creel Street on 9th Avenue. And Ms. McQueen also asked a question, and one of the citizens that live on Temple Street, she said, I want to ask you about flooding. Where is the runoff water going from this bridge? And that was one of the main questions that Mr. McQueen asked. They said, oh, well, we'll make sure there's proper drainage. And when you talked about Sycamore Street and Lincoln Park and all of these areas, and you say, well, oh, I'm not that close. You have to think about when you talk about environmental impact study, when the drainage come off this 4-lane highway, the water's going somewhere. So, you know, now the county has this, what they call retention pond. There's going to be a pond, but besides that pond, the water is coming off that 4-lane highway somewhere. But then I don't think some really understand the impact. And it was really some in the meeting the other night, it began to sink in. They're like, wait a minute. And someone said, wait a minute. I won't be able to walk across Dirty Branch. It's going to be a 4-lane highway. She said, no, it's going to be a 4-lane highway. Then the initial, what you look at in the diagram She said they do that for legality reasons. It's the length of a football field. That's how wide the initial phase of it, 300 and some feet, but then it's narrowed down to about 150 feet. But we still talk about with raised medians, off sides. So you're talking about still 4-lane with divided raised median, other portions of the road, 4-lane highway that are coming through. If you're wherever you were at, I don't care if you're traveling up 9th Avenue, it won't be no just driving across 9th Avenue, up 9th Avenue anymore, Arcades Bay.
Right.
You're going to have to stop or either go around the 4-lane highway, however it's done. But it was said in that meeting that it'll be, they upped it from August, I think it's a November. They're going to give us their final say in November. They were going to do it in August, but because of so many comments
Of the 5 options.
of the 5 options, yeah, one of the 5 options, there were so many comments from the community. So when you think you don't have a voice, or your words don't mean anything, even the sheets that they gave us to fill out in the community meeting, she said, please, and everybody said, can we get these to you later? She said, we would rather have your handwritten comments. It sends a greater impact to the panel when we review them. They say, you sure you read them? She said, we read every comment in order to make our determination. But the point was, they say, well then, they came back and said, but the road is coming.
Yeah, the road is coming. I got that.
They said, well, what if we say we don't want none of the 5 corridors? She said, well, we're going to choose, we'll listen to all the comments, we'll take what the comments said, but one of the corridors is coming to Conway. That's beside the point. The question was asked about Highway 22, and I know most of you probably know that, the southern evacuation route, they call it. Highway 22 when in Ana, when you come out of Ana right there, they're going to complete that. That's like phase 3, 4, 5, whatever that is. That'll carry you around. They said that's too far out of Conway, so they need something just to get you around Conway in the median. And we think about it. If you ever travel up 9th Avenue in Capes Bay and see the number of children, young people, and adults that are walking, because we have, as we said before, there's poor public transportation in this area.
Yeah.
So people walk over to Food Lion, they walk, to Dollar Tree or whatever to get there. You think about the danger now. As you said, there's no crosswalk, no overpass, no nothing for walkers. So the danger now of this highway. But then one thing I go back to, it just came back to me. One of the things DOT said when they opened up the meeting, you have to understand, and if you saw the news and the newspaper a few weeks ago, Myrtle Beach is the second fastest growing area in the United States.
Really?
The second fastest. And the opening statement within that paragraph, they said that the growth to this area is inevitable. So there's big development coming. And so when you talk about a corridor, then the exit ramps eventually, and when you, many of us that live in this area, when you say, oh, that don't affect me, no, when they start bringing big subdivisions, property value start rising, that means tax increase and all of this, it affects everybody around here and everything. You're talking about people threatened to properties and everything. So there's a lot going to question with this perimeter than what people realize, that we all should be concerned about the residents, concerned about all of those, and concerned about the voiceless. A lot of times we sit down and there are others, none of us, I don't know how to adequately say some things, I just say it. Yeah. It may not be the right way, and if I have to come back and ask somebody to forgive me. If it wasn't the right subject and verb agreement, well, I've been to school 2 days, but it is, and we fighting for the people, and there are some out there, they just, they're not gonna come forward, so somebody have to be the voice for the voiceless. And we still have an opportunity to put this road, and with the voice of the people, to make a change. I don't want to go too much on live on this radio, but there's some work still need to be done. And if we join together to do it, and as a song that Brother PJ played sometime, it talks about sweep around your own front door. And then they said, if you never had any rain in your life, you wait a while. So you may think this don't affect you, but keep on living with all the subdivisions and things that are going on. As the other day, I took I was with my 95-year-old cousin who had never been to the Port Harrison landing in Bucksport. And we went down the Port Harrison Road, and nearing the landing, crossing over, here's this new road coming in on the back end of Bucksport. And he said, wow, it's being paved, another road coming in on the back end, right, near the ferry. He said, cousin, what is this? I said, that's a very interesting question. What is this? A road behind Bucksport. And so when you think about this, and although the street committee says, right, the street committee says that's Grand Strand Water and Sewer Road, so they wouldn't have to go through Bucksport Road. That's another way around Bucksport. So then we went back up Bucksport, and they said, what has to do with the road project? I'm trying to bring a point to you, listeners. We went back into Bucksport and then came up Bucksport Road to go to the marina. When you pass Mount Moriah Church now, you have to stop at a stop sign. There's no longer going directly to the marina. The road coming in by the ferry, you now stop and you go right or left. You might have to make a left now to go to the Bucksport Marina. There's no more driving straight to the marina. Now, be it my cousin is 95 years old and no slow leak. He says there's a big change coming to Bucksport. He said it behooves the citizens of Bucksport to be very careful of what's getting ready to happen to this area. And I say that to say about this road project, it behooves all of us in the Conway area, the Sandridge area. If a 95-year-old can pick that up from just riding across the highway and understanding what's going on, right, and the changing of roads, it behooves all of us to be careful in what's going on. And when you say something don't affect you, I guess in probably a million years, the residents of Bucksport would have never dreamed they would never be able to drive straight to the marina anymore. Now, granted, the marina is owned by Grand Strand Water and Sewer, that 170 some acres or whatever. It is owned by them, from my understanding, if my recollection is correct. But the fact is, it's with the Marine Industrial Park coming to Bucksport, I'm too worried about Bucksport, just as I'm worried about, because if this road project, right, is emptying off the 701 South, yeah, that's right, absolutely, then where is the next road project?
They're gonna have to widen the 701 to Bucksport, right?
Right.
They're gonna make it that 4-lane.
I'm sorry.
They're gonna have to make that a 4-lane.
And she said, and it was said in that meeting, big development, subdivisions is coming to our area. So we just have to be on the lookout. And I'm again say, a lot of times we don't want to elect certain people to office. I was in a particular community some years back, and an African-American male was running for a high office. And the members of the community, some of his own family members said, oh, we don't like him. Okay, so you'd rather put somebody else in office that was going to do your community harm. And I think they have seen the repercussions, and that elections do have consequences when things like this happen, yeah, and everything. And we know when big development coming, and I said to my family members, and I said it to them this past weekend in Bucksport, I said, have you ever driven over 526 in Charleston?
That's right.
Have you ever looked at the marine industrial parks, all of those factories, all of those industrial docks and everything? I said, have you ever taken notice of the homes near those docks and industrial parks?
Take that bridge number 5.
Yes, sir.
That's a high bridge.
It's a high bridge. And this go back to what you was talking about, the environmental impact study, and it was also said at the meeting that night. They can care less because 526 is nothing but a bridge. They would put nothing but a bridge coming from El Bethel Road if need be, just to accomplish the mission they want to accomplish, to get to what they want to get to. Care less about your home or anything. And we got several residents that, you know, have retired and moved back home and built new homes and purchased homes and renovated. That's right. And they stand for their new homes to be demolished.
I know that this is a land plat, but maybe sometimes people have a hard time really grasping the concept of something because they're visual and they can't really see it. Has anyone attempted to actually take the homes or subdivisions and actually plot them on this map so that they can see where these roads are, what they're running through and what they're circling and all that? Because right now, looking at this, they just see pretty much like an aerial view of the property. But if you saw that, you know, so-and-so's church was here or a subdivision was there, or, you know, you could actually see your home on the map, I think it would resonate with people. Has anybody ever tried that before?
Yeah, at the last meeting, they had a huge, you know, 10 times, 15 times the size of this, so you can see it very plainly. Okay, each option, and it will lay down on the table, correct me if I'm wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, and this, you can actually see the homes. Yeah, you actually see the homes.
Were you able to take pictures of that?
And I can send you the link too. The DOT sent me the link where you can actually pull
the link
them
is
up.
better.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I'll send you the link.
Okay,
I'll make sure I get all of you the link.
Right.
And let me tell you, Sister April, it's a good question,
Yeah, that's a good
because when residents came to that meeting, because like you say, this brochure that they have is nothing compared to the
Sure.
to those I say life-size maps that were up hanging up in there. And when they began to look at it, and people say, "Wait a minute,
That's my house.
that's my way." Oh no, I didn't see it like that on that paper.
Yeah.
It was like, and even I won't even call another location on here in here, but they were surprised, and there was no representation from that particular
See,
place.
I think if people see that,
And-
then they'll truly understand what
Exactly.
it's saying.
And this is one reason why we wanted people to come out to the meeting. Unfortunately, this next meeting, because this is not a DOT meeting, if we get the maps, we would have to pay for them, and those maps cost about $100 and some or more a piece and everything. So we won't have the opportunity.
It's worth it.
It's worth it, yeah.
Clarity
Right.
will answer all your questions.
But we can send you the link. If you even if you inbox me on Facebook or you get, I'll make sure that the residents here, thank you, we'll email it. If you get it to the Whittemore magazine host, we'll make sure we get that link to them and to WPJS. So if you get hold of them, they can any one of us can forward you that link, and you can pull them up individually and see it.
We'll post it on the website.
Okay,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and maybe there's a way, I don't know how much conversation is going on in the churches, but of course we know that's the largest body of where we gather. If there's a way to get some of this information to the churches so that they can post something, or there's got to be a way to do it, inexpensively.
We're on video right now. So
Yes.
This. So you're right now. So I get it close. That's right. I'm holding up there long enough. Okay.
Yes.
So just to give you an overview of what it looks like, and there were 5. I think the link will also show you the 5 posters that were there, right?
Yes, right. Yes.
And you can see very clearly the homes of what. And just one example that one of the people who were attending the meeting was, she came out and said that her backyard will be the edge of right. But in fact, they're taking up some of her backyard. Okay, and she just built a house.
Right.
She just had a housewarming here about a year ago, something like that. Yeah.
And one plan actually demolishes her house.
Right.
One take the backyard. One of them actually the total house is gone.
Yeah.
And so, and someone asked, say, "Oh well, would that affect? Would you put up fencing?" And we asked about Norris barriers. Now, if anyone been down 544, right before you get to the 707 or the Soccer Street Road, you see that brick house right down the road where the fence is right up to their front door. This is what could potentially happen in the Nichols area because of the flooding. Once your members are displaced, eventually they start attending churches close to where they are. When gas prices are high.
Right.
So when pastor said, "Oh, the road is coming way down, that's not near my church." But if you have parishioners that live in that vicinity, if your parishioners are displaced, then it depends on how well you feel about your members.
Right. Yeah.
And we're already affecting Sand Ridge. I don't know if you see now that since Dominion is taking over, we talked about it the last time, now they're coming through with the pipeline to finish the pipeline. So residents have already losing property on Sand Ridge. But for the gas pipe. This Conway perimeter affects more than just those that in close proximity, Dirty Branch Road, Hemingway Chapel Road, Creel Street, But as we said earlier, when we're talking about the drainage, when we talk about flooding and things, it has a far greater impact on traffic as it relates going up and down 9th Avenue and all the way out and everything. So
just let me say something that's critical there. We talked about Bethlehem #1 church. One of those options, if they exercise it, will almost wipe that out because it goes straight down and up Dirty Branch Road. Is that correct?
yes,
Right? Dirty
correct.
Branch Road is
You
one.
said one will wipe out the church.
When I
Oh,
say
yeah.
One
wipe it
option
out,
would,
yeah, one
run
option.
through the church.
Right, number 5. If you can see, it goes right over
Dirty
Bethlehem
Branch
Missionary
Wow.
Baptist Church.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Now, if
People
you
need
saw
to
the
see
big
that on
map,
the
if you see the big map,
Yeah.
the big map would have the lane right over
People need
the
to see
front
that.
of the church.
Front of the church.
Yeah.
You need to see that.
Okay, and you know how
And if the corridor, if you look on the back end of one of the corridors, even with Food Line, 2 of the lanes go right over Food Line. And someone say, well, they won't move Food Line. Well, that's just how important money is. They think about economics.
They have an open building right there where Harvest.
Okay.
Hey guys,
They could
we
re-
got.
they could-
Brother
Oh,
PJ, can't go
okay.
so much
Yes,
more
sir.
time.
All
Sorry,
right.
PJ.
Thank you,
Sorry,
thank you,
PJ.
thank you,
You probably
William.
already have that
Thank you.
figured out.
Yes.
And that's the end of our story.
You're listening to the Whittemore Community Magazine Hour of Power right here on WPGS 1330 AM on your dial. I'm your co-host, speaking for the host, Miss April Garner.
Yeah,
She
I
don't
already
like
know
that.
the deal. Exactly.
And Brother Cedric,
Yes.
who we appreciate
Thank you,
very much
Cedric,
for
for being
enlightening
so
all of,
informative.
I was about to say enlightening just Sandridge area, but he's enlightening the whole Horry County because a lot is going to be more impacted than Sandridge. Okay? Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week, same time, 4 p.m. right here on WPGS 1330 AM on your dial. Check out the website, www.wcmagazine.net.